The League of Women Voters of Cupertino Sunnyvale presents the Cupertino Union School District Board of Education Candidate Forum 2016, live from the Cupertino Community Hall. And now for tonight's moderator, Marie Ann Shovlin.
Welcome to this candidate forum for the Cupertino Union School District. I'm Marie Ann Shovlin from the League of Women Voters, and I'll be moderating tonight's forum. The League of Women Voters hosts forums like this to allow voters to see the candidates and to hear them address questions of interest to the public. Our goal is to enable voters to learn about the candidates so they can make informed choices. The League of Women Voters never endorses or opposes a candidate or a political party. 2 of the 5 seats on the Board of Trustees for the Cupertino Union School District are up for election this November. All 4 candidates are here tonight. They are Liang Chow, Joe Lucy, Gregory Anderson, and Phyllis Vogel. Voters in this school district may vote for 2 of these candidates, and the 2 candidates that get the most votes in November will be elected to the school board. The candidates have agreed to a format and ground rules for tonight's forum. The format is simple. I will pose questions to the candidates, and each candidate will have 60 seconds to respond. A timer seated at the front will give candidates visual signals to help them pace their responses. The questions for tonight's forum were developed by a team of League members based upon their own research and questions submitted by the public via email. Since we received ample questions from the public in advance, we are not collecting questions from the audience tonight. We received over 70 questions on the school districts via email and have integrated them into the questions today. This forum is being recorded and aired live on the Cupertino City channel. The ground rules ask the candidates not to use the forum recordings for campaign purposes. We also encourage the audience not to record the forum because we want it to be shown in its entirety. We'll tell you how to access the forum video at the end of tonight's program. Finally, we ask the audience to refrain from displays of support or opposition. Please hold your applause until the end of the forum. We'll now turn our attention to the candidates. Thank you for running for office and for participating in this forum. Your speaking order for the opening question, determined from a random drawing, will be from left to right, starting with Liang Chow. Ms. Chow, what has prepared you for this office?
Hi, I'm Liang Chow. First, I'd like to thank everyone for coming tonight and the League of Women Voters for hosting this forum. Your service to our community around good governance is invaluable. Thank you. I'm a mother of 2 school-aged children. Education is very important to me. Because of that, I have served on the board of YMCA to support science education for underprivileged kids. I have also led math circles to engage students in the joys of problem solving. I've coached student teams to present their self-made science gadget at Maker Faire. Week by week, I volunteered in classrooms to support our teachers. With a PhD from Princeton University, I taught in universities in US and in Germany. Coupled with my years of experience as a software engineer, I have a firm understanding of K-12 education in relation to industry demands and what it means for the future of our children.
Ms. Lucy?
Thank you. My thanks to the League of Women Voters for My husband and I raised 2 children who graduated from our schools. And my initial preparation was my volunteer work at my children's elementary school, where I was a PTA member, chair of the school site council, and a classroom volunteer, as well as my service on various key district advisory committees, including strategic planning, budget, math, and funding equity. Since being elected to the board, I've gained a strong understanding of the district organization, budget, curriculum, and personnel, and I'm intimately familiar with our successes and our challenges. As president of both the Santa Clara County and the California School Boards Associations, I've had the opportunity to visit other districts in the state and have used that experience to advocate for public education policy issues to benefit students both locally and statewide. CUSD is one of the lowest funded districts in the state, and I've worked diligently to offer excellent educational opportunities to our students and competitive compensation for our employees. Thank you.
Mr. Anderson.
Good evening. Thanks for this opportunity, and thank you all to the community for coming. What qualifies me is my lifelong commitment to education. My father graduated from elementary school in the same one-room schoolhouse that my grandfather did, and I somehow then went on to college and master's and doctorate level. So education is my life, and it's what I've invested my entire career in. 30 years experience in educational improvement has prepared me for this position. Engaging, collaborative, change-oriented servant leadership is what I would bring to this board. I'm visionary, but within constraints, parameters. I have the big picture, but I also know how to ensure that the big picture is complete. That's why I'm running for this board, and that's what prepares me for this board.
Ms. Vogel.
Thank you, and I'd also like to thank the League of Women Voters for hosting this event, and thank you to all of you for coming. I've always been passionate about kids and about the Cupertino Union School District. I was employed by the district from 1963 until 2005 as a principal, a teacher, and an assistant superintendent. I served on almost all of the district committees, district advisory, district English language advisory, teachers advisory, the negotiation team, PTA, and school site council. I was active in the Asian American Parents Association and the Cupertino Sister Cities Committee. I also participate in lots of school events at Lawson, Dilworth, Montclair, Eisenhower, and this year I plan to be a Project Cornerstone reader at John Muir. Because of my involvement with parents and staff at the district level and my involvement with students at the school level, I feel I am well prepared to continue to represent all stakeholders as a board member in CUSD.
Our next question will be started with Joe Lucy. Ms. Lucy, why do you want to be a school board member?
I'd like to continue my service as a school board member, so I have served on the Board of Education for the last 15 years. And I think the primary reason is public education matters to me. I grew up in a family of educators. My father was a college professor. My mother was a school teacher. I believe that public education is the fundamental underpinning of our American democracy. It's what holds our communities together. It's what gives the children in our communities the ability to achieve their personal dreams. And I believe that public education matters. So I think the experience that I've had in my personal career, the experience that I've had both locally, at the regional level, and at the statewide level, working on public education issues, expresses sort of my commitment and my passion to public education in particular. I'm not interested in city council. I'm not interested in running for the state assembly, but I am interested in being your school board member. Thank you.
Mr. Anderson.
I'm running for this board because I believe that I can bring the voice of the student, the parent, the teacher, and the community member. I can bring that because of my balance that I bring. I bring a balance between a proven record of success in transforming education, but also that along with that proven record is a fresh perspective that I think would be powerful on the board. That proven record includes fiscal oversight, personnel, negotiations, facilities, planning, and academic governance. I'm eager for change, and at the same time, I'm patient with how slow change can happen in academia. I see change as being possible, and I can bring new hope and trust in governance. I think that I understand the parents' concerns, I understand the teachers' needs, I understand it all, but I'm going to keep the focus on students. And I think that's the voice that this board needs and the community needs. Thank you.
Ms. Vogel.
I want to continue on the Board of Education because I want to continue my service to students in this district. I believe that strong schools build strong communities, and when I see the community building that goes on in our schools, it makes me proud to be a part of that. When I'm in the schools and I watch the children learning and I watch the teachers doing their magic in the classroom and the new curriculum that we're implementing, I think it's very exciting. And we have some challenges coming up in our district, and I want to be a part of the solution to those challenges. Thank you.
Ms. Chow.
We live in the center of technology world. CUSD is an admired school district with high performance, but I have come across many issues that concern me, from traffic safety, math placement and curriculum, technology use like one-to-one iPad program, various red tapes to discourage parent volunteers and to discourage fundraising, questionable use of funds. Last but not least, mounting pressures on teachers and support staff. I have come to realize that CUSD needs help before it's too late. With my educational background, industry experience, my ability in data-driven research, connection with the community, and a caring, empathetic personality, I have a unique opportunity to make a positive impact on CUSD by building trust and forming a partnership of collaboration between parents, teachers, and the district.
Our next question was asked by quite a few people, and that is, what is your understanding of the roles and responsibilities of a Cupertino Union School District board member? Mr. Anderson, would you start us off, please?
The primary role of any board member is to continue in this district, continue the excellence that we have, we, parents, teachers, community members, board members, everybody together, we have created this tradition of excellence. The primary role is to continue that tradition of excellence. And that means that we need to hold everybody to very high standards, from the teachers to ourselves and to the administration. The primary role is to ensure fiscal oversight that is measured and careful and thoughtful, to keep everybody safe, whether they're in the schools or outside of the schools, to ensure excellence in pedagogy and curriculum, and to provide that broad oversight that's going to rebuild trust in this school board and in the rest of the district.
And Ms. Vogel.
I believe that the roles and responsibilities of a school board are to set policy for the district, to set the direction in which we're going, to make decisions about curriculum and financial matters, and to make certain that the superintendent and the administration, principals, and teachers carry out those policies that we have set. And I think it's important that the board listen to the community in setting policy and make certain that we are responding to the needs of the parents and students that we serve.
Okay. Ms. Chang.
The board should always remember we are elected by the voters to provide oversight on how our tax dollars are spent and provide guidance with goals derived with full engagement of the stakeholders. The community is both the investors and the customers of the school district. Teacher housing at Luther site is a decision that was made without involving stakeholders, not even the employees. The district management should be held accountable for long-term plan with clear goals and objectives, measurable outcomes that provide structure and direction for staff and the community. One-on-one iPad program is such a program that's implemented without clear, meaningful goal and outcomes. West Valley reconstitution is another example of poor management. The district needs to build trust, partnership among the stakeholders in order to face challenges and solve problems. Transparency in decision-making is the key for building trust.
And that leads us into our next question, person, Ms. Lucy.
Thank you. So I think it's important to recognize that the board is a governing board, and so their job is high level. It's vision, goal setting, and it's sort of laying out where you think the district is and where the district needs to be. The job of the administration is actually management. So the board sets the goals, the management does the execution, and then the board comes back around at the end of the cycle to verify and to ensure accountability. As a board member, you have to understand what the organization is trying to do. You have to look at curriculum issues. You have to consider budget. You have to look at the current issues and the long-term issues. You have to consider your students. You have to consider your employees. You have to look at the state regulations. And you have to look at where the community is and where it's going. So it's a very high-level sort of visioning role, and then a management piece that the district personnel does, and then an accountability piece that the board comes back in and does in full circle.
Okay, thank you. Our next question will start with Ms. Vogel, and that is, how would the board help reestablish community trust in our district's governance?
I think community trust is established through good communication, and we have begun to do some things in the district to improve the communication, particularly with our parents, by having coffees in every school throughout the year and having parent meetings also in every school throughout the year. I also think the community needs to be informed through newsletters and blasts over the internet so that everyone is aware of what we're doing and what's going on and why we're doing it. Thank you.
Okay. And Ms. Chow.
As I have said before, community trust comes from two-way engagement and transparency. Without two-way engagement, the community doesn't know how the decisions are made, then there is no trust. If it's only one-way communication, it's PR, then community will still have doubt. Decisions should put students first. Decisions on curriculum and teaching should engage teachers who are in contact with students daily. Decisions on facilities and school enrollment should consider the short-term and long-term physical health of CUSD and health of the cities we live in. We should engage the stakeholders, parents, teachers, and the wider community to provide a process that's transparent and accountable with meaningful community inputs. That's how you build trust.
Thank you. Ms. Lucy.
Sure, thank you. So I'm going to echo a little bit of what Phyllis said and then talk about a couple other things. I think communication is a huge part of how you build a relationship with your community. But you also have to work, and remember that you work with a broad group of constituents. You represent your students. You represent your various staff members, 3 different unions. You represent your parent community. You represent the total community. You represent your taxpayers. And you also have to follow the state law and the state education. So there's a varying constituent bases out there. And I think that the role of a board member is to try and pull those different conflicting values together. Communicating with your parent groups, communicating with your community is a piece of that. And we do a great deal of that in the district. We have district advisory committees, we have parent coffees, we do videos. I think the transition that we did under our math program was a really good example of how we talked with the community about what was coming down from the state, what our approach was going to be, and how we were going to roll that out. So communication, but also understanding the different partners that you have to work with. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Anderson.
It's clear that we all agree that communication is important, but we also agree that we need to go further than has been achieved over the past few years with communication. So we need to be creative about this. We need to consider multiple channels of engagement. We see a lot of brave citizens who have taken time out of their busy schedule to come here. But there are many more who will be watching online. And we need to consider ways to make that happen with the board meetings, for example. We need to actually have board meetings where true discussion happens, where it's okay to make mistakes, and it's okay to have those mistakes filmed, and then we correct those mistakes. We need to be held accountable to the taxpayers and to the students, to the parents, to everybody. We need to make explicit how we are making our decisions, explicit how we are engaging, and then we need to hold ourselves accountable the same way that we hold teachers and staff accountable.
Another question that generated a lot of interest from our audience. We'll start with Ms. Chow on this one. What do you see as the 3 greatest challenges the district faces over the next several years?
One of the challenge that districts face would be budget deficit. Our general fund has about 140 million, and that depends on enrollment. The district can attract more students by providing an excellent education. However, the district should never cooperate with developers to use potential decline in enrollment to influence public opinions for their projects. And another challenge we face is traffic. Traffic is getting more and more congested. The district should provide leadership in forming a master plan to cooperate with the 6 cities we serve to provide leadership. Another challenge we have is community trust. To build up transparency and provide open up the communication with the community through online and two-way communication.
Ms. Vogel, your thoughts on this?
I think the 3 primary priorities for the district over the next few years are student achievement, declining enrollment, and budget. Student achievement should always be the top priority for our district to continue to maintain the high standards that we have and to continue to be one of the top performing districts in the state. Declining enrollment will be an issue for us, especially in the southern part of our district. We're going to need to look very closely at how we will manage that so that we can keep schools at reasonable sizes. And budget will be declining along with declining enrollment. And with the increased retirement costs for our employees and the declining enrollment, we will need to face some budget considerations.
Mr. Anderson.
3 challenges that our district faces are I'm going to start with trust. We've already started to talk about that. And building trust is actually the way that we're going to solve all of these challenges. Funding and budget, clearly they are challenges, but they are solvable. We're in the most creative place in the entire world, and we can find the answers. We haven't started the search for the answers, but we can find them. The declining enrollment, if indeed the demographers' predictions are correct, and we need to examine them more closely, we need to understand what the patterns are, and we need to account for attrition. How many families are leaving this fine district to go to private schools? We need to get that data. A third challenge is attracting and retaining the top teachers. Our district is filled with passionate teachers who believe in our students and believe in education and are achieving this excellence that we all care so much about. How can we hold on to them, and how can we attract more of them? There are creative solutions to make that happen.
All right. Ms. Lucy.
Hi. So I think we have several budget challenges in front of us. We are the lowest funded district in Santa Clara County. Our STRS and PERS retirement costs will go from 8% of payroll to 18% of payroll over the next several years. We are experiencing declining enrollment. 13-14 was our peak year, and we are down over 650 students this year. The decline in enrollment is not students leaving for private school. It's the fact that our 8th grade class is exiting in larger numbers than the incoming kindergarten class. So we have larger groups going out than coming in. It's just a fact of demographics that's happening all over the valley. So we're going to need to look at our budget and try and figure out how to make that work. We have cut overhead, and we're going to have to continue to do that. We eliminated 6 positions, administrative positions, last year. And we're going to have to look at how to manage the enrollment and what to do with that piece. And I will also say that moving forward, rolling out and finishing the transition to Common Core and our Common Core curriculum, working with student achievement is probably the other piece that we still have ongoing work to do.
Okay, thank you. Our next question, we'll start with Ms. Vogel on this one. There's a perceived desire for more transparency in how the district operates. How will you contribute to the board's creating more opportunities for bidirectional discussion and collaboration to achieve compromise among all the stakeholders?
Thank you. Transparency, I think, is important in any organization, and I believe we have transparency in Cupertino. We have a number of parent committees and community committees that make recommendations to the board, and we work with our teachers, we work with our classified employees, we take input from a lot of places before decisions are made. So I want to continue with that kind of transparency and perhaps add to that if there are other ways that we can make it better.
And Mr. Anderson?
We need to try different approaches. We need change. Transparency, just as evidenced by the fact that we're being asked this question, transparency doesn't exist sufficiently in this district. We need to have recorded and live versions of every board meeting. There's no reason not to do that tomorrow. We need to engage explicitly through social media, through alternate means of engaging parents. So it's not only the same parents, the same likely parents who continue to show up and lead. We value those parents who have the time and energy to take on those massive roles of the committees that Phyllis just mentioned. But we also need to find ways for much more limited engagement that's still meaningful and still powerful. There are ways to solve this, and together we can solve all of these challenges.
Thank you. Ms. Lucy?
Sure. I think transparency is a part of how you communicate with your community. We do several two-way communications. We have a parent advisory committee that that we talk to and that talks to us. We have a budget advisory committee where we walk through the issues that we have on our budget and look for ideas there. We have a district English language committee that works with our language learner programs. We have a district advisory committee. We have coffees. We have gone to every single school in the district in the spring. We're going twice this year where we have more one-on-one intimate conversations with our community members. We do one-way communication. We do videos and news blasts and newsletters to inform our community as to what's going on in the district. We have some future issues that we'll be dealing with in terms of technology and our next steps in the area of technology and what to do with enrollment, and we'll do that with community groups and committees to make recommendations. The staff meets with the superintendent in a collaborative working meeting once a month, and they also meet with the board president and vice president. So I think we have many things in place that we can continue to work on communication. Thank you.
And Ms. Chow?
Hi. There are many things in place, but how come parents still complain that they don't know anything? The very parents who are on PAC, the Parent Advisory Committee, District Advisory Committee, told me that out of 25 representatives, often only 5 to 7 attend. The rest of them don't even show up. And they were given meeting packets right before the meeting with very hard to comprehend the content that they cannot even provide comments on. That's the kind of communication we have. For DLAC, the English Language Learning Committee, out of those schools with the English learners, the De Vargas, Eisenhower, they don't have any representative who attend those meetings. That's the kind of communication we have. We are in a technology world. We can easily have online webinar to involve parents who have to stay home with kids. And we can form task force for spatial projects. Thank you.
Thank you. And for our next question, we'll start with Mr. Anderson. How can the district support the needs of all families, including those who may not have been heard?
Well, this is a perfect follow-up to the previous question. The mode of communication needs to cater effectively to every different sort of parent. The most engaged parent who has time, as well as the single parent family who barely has time to even prepare a meal for the child. We need to consider all these different ways. So, as we talked about, the social media, the live and recorded discussions at the board, and real discussions at the board in which a dialogue occurs and there aren't preset decisions of board members going in, where there are contrary decisions, and that truly engages folks when they see that there aren't decisions that are made beforehand where everybody feels that their input is valued, and we need to make explicit exactly how we are engaging, and then explicit about how we're holding ourselves, our staff, and everybody accountable.
And Miss Lucy,
Can you just repeat the question one time?
how can the district support the needs of all families, including those that may not have been heard?
So I think the question focuses on the different types of families that we have. And I think one of the great things about our school district is that we're very broad-based. We have many different cultures, we have many different communities. Each school is a little bit different and a little bit unique. I think in our district we've worked very hard to make sure that there's something for everyone. We have different alternative programs to meet different needs. We have a STEM program at one of our neighborhood schools. We work hard to make sure that every child feels welcome and needed. We have programs in place for social and emotional needs. We have programs in place for high academics. We have programs in place for students that are struggling with their academics. So I think the real question is, how do you put an entire system in place so that every family, that every child feels that when they come to school, they get the services and the environment that they need? And I think we've worked very hard to do that. And I think we're very successful at it. We're one of the top performing districts in the state, and people come from all over to be here in our district. I think we do well.
Ms. Chow.
In order to hear from all the parents, first we need to connect them. But right now, in a child in the kindergarten, if a parent wants to connect to other kids within the same class, they are not allowed to, because the class list is not available. There is no communication at the class level. There is barely any communication at the school level. How can we involve all the parents if we don't allow parents to communicate with each other? One parent proposed to send the invitation for all parents in the same class to join a Google group, but that idea was shut down by a particular principal because they are discouraging that. I think for us, we have faced so many challenges. The teacher retention, West Valley, and then traffic safety. How can we find a solution that works for everyone? We should form a task force with representatives from different groups so we can come to a solution together.
Ms. Vogel.
Thank you. I think we have reached out to some of the groups that may not have a voice or feel that they don't have a voice. We have advocates in our schools where we have non-English and limited English-speaking families to reach out to them to make sure they have involvement in what's going on in their school. We also reach out to our Title I students. Those are our students who are disadvantaged and not performing well. We have systems in place to reach out to them and safety nets to make sure that those students are successful. And we also have a robust special education program where we do, I think, a very good job of reaching out to our special education families and making certain that those families are heard and those children are served. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next question is, we'll start off with Ms. Lucy, and we would like to know what impact Common Core has had on the school district.
Sure. It's had a tremendous impact, not only on our school district, but I think school districts up and down the state. It's a mandate. It's a state mandate. So we've shifted our curriculum, and the curriculum is now more project-based. It's more discussion-based. It's a lot less rote learning, and it's been a huge shift for not only our students but our staff. And the transition, I think, has taken time. We've put a lot of effort into professional development. In this community, we started with math because that's sort of a topic that people value highly here. I think we've made the transition in math successfully, both at the middle school level, and we're rolling into it at the elementary school level. Our next step is our critical literacy and our writing program. But it has been a significant challenge for not only our staff but our students. But we got our second year of test scores, and we are top-notch. We improved even over last year, and again, we're one of the highest performing districts in the state, and I think that's a credit to our students and our staff.
Thank you. Ms. Chow.
So for Common Core, my perspective will be from the parents. From the parents, the math curriculum has become much simpler to the point that the students feel bored. Common Core is supposed to involve students with deeper learning, but that hasn't come out that way. And instead, there is when I spoke to the district last year, the instruction department says they will provide some additional practice for students, but that wasn't there. And the science curriculum also become shallower. So after we implement a program, what we need is an evaluation. Get feedback from the teachers, from the parents, to find out whether this program actually is working. And we have a lot of experienced parents who know the curriculum before, who know the curriculum now, and they can provide you a lot of valuable input on their kids' learning.
Ms. Vogel.
Thank you. I support the Common Core. I think we've done a good job of implementing it in Cupertino, particularly, as Joe mentioned, in the area of math. I think we've done a good job of implementing the Common Core and also challenging our middle school students to be able to take algebra and geometry in our middle schools. Our writing is well underway. We have units of study in our elementary schools and moving into that in the middle schools. The one challenge I think we have right now with Common Core is in the area of reading, and that's partly because we don't have much direction from the state in that regard. So we don't have any new reading materials. So I think reading in our district is a bit of a mixed bag at this point, and I think that's the area that we need to focus on next.
Mr. Anderson?
It'll be a long time before we are able to judge the long-term impact of Common Core. The curriculum is not nearly as well defined as is purported, and there was a great deal more leeway in how it could have been rolled out, and that leeway would have trusted the teachers and their expertise. Instead, it was very top-down, and what that did is cause a great deal of stress in the teachers, and that stress causes challenges for them. What we need to do is trust and value the expertise that we are paying these teachers for. They have that expertise, they have that training, they have the ability to help each other, to cross-train, to ensure interdisciplinary success, and to thereby provide professional development for one another, rather than these so-called experts from the outside who cost a great deal of money that should be better focused directly on students. So the implementation is the problem.
Thank you. Ms. Chow, we'll start with you for this question. With enrollment declining in the district, which gets a fixed dollar amount per student, how could the board address financial stability to ensure maintaining educational excellence?
The board should first look at where we spend our dollars. Although the enrollment has been growing by 3 students per year in the past, but the rate of increase starts to slow down in 2012. Surprisingly, from 2012 to 2014, the administrative salaries increased in a rate that's 4 times of that of teacher salaries. And just in July, the board raises the salary for the top administrators. This district continues to renew questionable consultant contracts without measurable deliverables. The responsibility of the board is to question whether our tax dollars are well spent to maintain fiscal health. There are some positions that in the district, it used to be one position, but now there are 2 persons doing the same job. There are sometimes a director that has only one person under the VP. Thank you.
Ms. Lucy.
So decreasing enrollment is a fact of life in Silicon Valley. It's happening to all of the districts across the region. It's a result of the birth rate during the recession. The incoming kindergarten classes are smaller than the outgoing, for us, 8th grade classes. And so as a district, you have to simply manage that. And for us, we're a district that's funded dollars per student. So as the student enrollment decreases, so does our revenue. So we have to look at our overhead, clearly. As we've rolled out our new curriculum, we staffed up our curriculum department, and as our enrollment is decreasing, we're decreasing our curriculum department and rolling overhead out that way. As our schools are getting smaller, we're eliminating assistant principals in schools that are under a certain size. And we're simply going to have to look at our total budget, understanding what's ongoing dollars versus what's one-time dollars. Training is a one-time expense. Salary and budgets are ongoing expenses. I think I got the stop sign there. Thank you.
Mr. Anderson?
Could I have the question again, please?
Okay. With enrollment declining in the district, which gets a fixed dollar amount per student, how could the board address financial stability to ensure maintaining educational excellence?
So if anybody can answer this question in 60 seconds, I invite you to run for the board. I think the first step, though, is to ensure transparency in the budget. We need to provide different levels of clarity different levels of detail, and each of those levels needs to be much more clear than what we have now. What we have now is pretty opaque. It's opaque unless you have hundreds of hours and an accounting background. We need to show exactly where the discretionary dollars. Indeed, Ms. Lucy is correct that so much of that is tied up in compensation, which is negotiated. I understand that. We all understand that. But every other dollar, you should be able to say, anybody in this community should be able to say with great confidence that those dollars are being spent where they're going to have the greatest impact on student success. And very few people in the community can say that today. So let's look at those discretionary dollars and ensure that they're being used effectively.
Ms. Lucy?
Vogel, thank you. Declining enrollment is a fact of ours, and it's one of the challenges that I mentioned in the 3 challenges. In terms of financial stability, we have a budget advisory committee, and as has been mentioned, I think, by Gregory earlier, we have a lot of very bright people in this community that can help us solve problems. And when we went through the downturn in recent years, we have used our budget advisory committee to make recommendations about where we should make cuts, and those recommendations then come to the board for a decision. It is clear that we are going to have to make cuts based on the declining enrollment. And I'm depending on our community to help us to make the best decisions to make those cuts.
Thank you, Ms. Vogel. Now we'll turn to a question that we gave the candidates in advance to give them an opportunity to comment on something we did not ask them about this evening. So, Ms. Lucy,
Sure.
You'll be the first to respond. Would you please state and answer a question you wish had been asked tonight?
Sure, my question was basically, as a board member, who do you represent? And I think as a board member, you have to balance the competing needs of various constituencies: students, staff, parents, community members, and taxpayers. You have to listen to the vocal voices and the quiet ones. You have to balance current needs and future needs. You have to ask for relevant data, but also understand that for many constituents, decisions are highly emotional. It's a balancing act. And I'd like to think back to the 2005 decision we had to redraw middle school attendance areas when we opened Lawson. We had hundreds of parents attending board meetings that went till 2 in the morning. It was controversial then. But today, parents are happy with the school, and they're happy with the attendance area. A board member is elected to balance input and make decisions. What's easy isn't always right, and what's right isn't always easy. I've always put students first. Our district is one of the best in the state, and the decisions I've made, both large and small, have contributed to that excellence. Thank you.
Mr. Anderson.
The question that I would have liked to have been asked is, where and what should CUSD be? Should we be exactly the same? Is that our goal, to continue the high scores with less funding? Or should we be more? Should we be greater? And if we're going to be greater, what does that mean? Does it mean considering the opening of another alternative school? We have 4 alternative schools in the STEM focused program. Should we consider another alternative school? Should we consider ways that we can have more partnerships with our well-funded neighbors? Should we consider ways that we can recreate our education in really new and fresh ways? Have we asked these visionary questions of parents, community members, industry, and students? I don't think we have. And that's what we need to do also. We need to keep that hope, that optimism, and dream big.
Thank you. Ms. Vogel.
Thank you. My question is based on something that I hear from parents a lot in all areas of our community, and in fact, it was a question that was asked on Wednesday of the city council candidates, and it has to do with traffic. Traffic is a big issue around our schools, and the question I would ask is, how will you work to mitigate the traffic situations? And I think what we've done in Cupertino so far is we have provided buses for students traveling from Stockholmeyer to Cupertino, which has been taken a lot of cars out of the road. And one of our administrators serves on the Safe Routes to Schools task force, and that's a group that's exploring ways to improve the traffic conditions around our schools. I support Larry Dean's Walk by Cupertino group, and they're working with the city and with Cupertino and with Fremont High School District to encourage walking and biking and to create safe routes. We have a bike safety curriculum that will be introduced in the middle schools this year. I think it's important that we take care of these traffic problems for safety for our children.
And Ms. Chow.
Here's a question sent by a parent. With the incredible growth of traffic, compounded by distracted driving, children in our communities are getting hurt as they walk and bike to and from school. What would CUSD do? Every year, kids are hurt on their way to school. I know some who spend time in hospitals, and I know a kid personally who lost his life. The loss of life and the impact on the family is irreparable. I cannot bear to see similar accidents happen again. Traffic safety is a priority for me. The district should take a leadership role to set minimum standards on traffic safety and work with the 6 cities and 25 schools in our district to lay out a long-term master plan to implement its policies and programs. If there is no funding, we can raise it. If there is no parent involvement, we can ignite parent enthusiasm.
Thank you. Now it's time for our closing question. And we'll start with Mr. Vogel, who will be the first to respond. Why should voters vote for you?
Why should voters vote for me? Voters should vote for me because experience matters. I have the experience and background to continue to be an effective CUSD board member. Student achievement has always been my highest priority, and Cupertino continues to be one of the highest performing districts in the state. For me, student achievement is not only academic test scores, equally important is their social and emotional growth. I have been and will continue to be a good steward of the public funds. I chaired both parcel tax campaigns and the parcel tax renewal campaign and the bond measure. The parcel taxes bring $8 million a year to the district, and the bond brought us $220 million for renovations to our schools. I'm proud of my service to the district, and I would like to continue to work with your students, staff, and community to keep CUSD strong. I hope to have your vote on November 8th.
Mr. Anderson.
Indeed, experience does matter, and I've got that experience. I've got the experience in fiscal management, personnel management, negotiations, facilities, planning, academic governance, and I've also got 3 degrees in areas that are absolutely pertinent to this role. But beyond experience in education, we also need somebody who understands the current challenges facing this community. We need somebody who's really listening to the parents who haven't been heard sufficiently. We need somebody who is going to represent special ed parents, English language learners, community members whose voices have not been heard. We need to bring them into the fold, and I understand that, and I would ensure that those fresh perspectives, like my fresh perspective, would be heard, valued, and that would develop trust, and that would help ensure that we continue the excellence of academic performance, but also the excellence of the social skills, the critical thinking, the political and civic engagement that we need to transform society.
Thank you. Ms. Chow.
You should vote for me because the future of CUSD depends on it. Your future depends on it. The district is going in questionable direction due to poor fiscal management. Expenses have skyrocketed and are unsustainable. We are projecting a deficit due in part to declining enrollment, but also due to much higher administrative costs and misplaced priorities. We as a community will have very difficult decisions to make. This board has proven they will not work with the community in making those decisions. I will work with you. I will work for you. Aside from my strong qualifications, I will rebuild the trust in our community. Trust and communication is the glue that binds us. Our students, homeowners, business owners depend on it for a healthy community.
Thank you. Ms. Lucy.
Thank you. CUSD is one of the highest performing districts in the state. Our students are well prepared for success in high school and in college. I was raised in a family of educators, and I am a strong advocate for public education. I have worked hard to ensure that our schools are safe and strong learning environments, and I've helped to lead efforts to provide new technology and infrastructure upgrades. We're successfully transitioning to the new state curriculum, and our test scores show our students are doing exceptionally well. As one of the lowest funded districts in the state, we have exercised prudent budget planning to best manage our limited resources and to provide quality instruction and to protect our education community. Our decreasing enrollment will require both short and long-range planning to ensure our schools remain vibrant centers of our community. We will need to work in partnership with our 6 cities to address the impact of building, growth, and traffic on our schools. I've been honored to serve this community, and I ask for your support to continue this important work. I have the experience, leadership, and commitment to guide us through the challenges ahead. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Please join me in a round of applause to thank the candidates. The candidates will remain after the forum to give you a chance to talk with them individually. You may also pick up candidate literature in the lobby. Visit lwvcs.org in the coming days to find the video of tonight's forum. Go to the calendar on our website and scroll down for the listing for this event to find a link to the forum video. I also encourage you to check out the votersedge.org, formerly Smart Voter, the League of Women Voters Election Information Service, that website. The new content features the money behind the political campaigns at the federal and state levels. More information will be added to the Voter's Edge throughout October, especially for local contests and measures. I want to thank you, the audience, for coming tonight. I also thank all the people who sent us questions by email. We greatly appreciate the City of Cupertino for the use of the community hall and for their wonderful TV crew, whose work makes this forum available to all voters in the community. We hope tonight's forum has helped you with your voting decisions. If you liked this event and would like to help with future forums, please visit our table in the lobby and ask about joining the League of Women Voters. We also have flyers listing more election events. Please remember to vote November 8th in the election. And thanks again for coming, and thank you again.